Hey, it's Doug from Rise Above Performance Training. And what do you think the most important joint in the body is? I'll tell you after this. So all joints are important, but this one in particular, the ankle, is one of the most important. The reason being, if you don't have good ankle mobility, let's say my ankle only moves a little bit, all that energy from the ground force is going to transfer to the next joint, which is usually the knee, then the hips, and then all throughout the body, the spine and everything. So let's say I'm performing a soccer movement or running, and I land, my ankle only moves forward a little bit. My knee is going to take the brunt of it. And now it might do interesting things. It might collapse inward like valgus stress. That'll cause pain in the hips, and that could lead to injuries. Other injuries of the ankle could lead to, Achilles injuries. It could lead to basic stuff like plantar fasciitis. So we want to get the ankle mobilized to its optimal level on both sides. If you don't have good mobility, even your training can affect your joints. So let's say we don't have good mobility and we're in a static environment and doing squats, and I drop down and I need a little bit of ankle shift forward to squat, but if I don't, my knees will collapse inward coming up, and that puts a lot of stress and it reinforces bad movement patterns. So when you go out and play at faster movements, your body doesn't have that reference to be in proper alignment, so you're going to have some more injury potential. So what we're going to do is we're going to test our ankle mobility right now. So you can get a wall or a post, and we want to be about 5 inches away from the post. So I'm going to be right about here. And what we want to do is we want to isolate that knee, and you can hold on, or you can just use your body, and we want to keep our heel down and see if we can move our ankle in isolation and touch the post. And we want to compare it to both sides. So again, I'll be about 5 inches away and drop in. I'm doing pretty well there. This one's a little tighter, but so doing okay. So what we want is 20 degrees roughly of forward movement. So if my leg is straight up and that's 0, we can guesstimate that's 10, that's about 20. So if we have that, then we have the capability to perform well on the field and in our exercises at the gym. Now, if you don't have that 20 degrees of movement, or if you can't touch that knee to the wall 5 inches away, we want to make sure we do some self-myofascial release, foam rolling, or I have this for this video here. Also, you want to do it just in general. So if you have good mobility, sprinkle it in every once in a while, because your mobility can change. If you don't do any of it for months on end, you're going to start to tighten up. So we're going to take that ball, almost dropped it there, and pretty simple. I'm just going to roll around the calf area. I like the ball because I can do little circles. I can flex my foot forward and do it. I can pull my toes up and do it. I can get on the outside by turning my toe out. I can get on the inside by turning my toe in. Now I want to roll right in there, right around the best I can on both sides. It doesn't hurt to go in the hamstring because all this connected all the way down. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to roll the calves on both sides, and you should too. Let's say at least once a week minimum. If you can't get that mobility, then do it more frequently before your workouts and after your heavy training sessions. So next we're going to do some mobility of the ankles. Again, sprinkle this into your training session. So if you're doing sets of bench press, you can do your therapeutic exercises in between while you're actively resting. So we're going to do some ankle glides or ankle mobility. Elevated is a great way to start because you got a lot of leverage. I can use my rear leg and I can really push and I can glide my ankles going forward. Sometimes when we're on the ground, we don't have that leverage from that front leg as much. So elevated to start out if your mobility is not that great. What I'm doing is I'm driving from the rear, I'm keeping my hips level, and I'm pulsing forward, trying to get into that 20 degrees. Now I don't want any compromising of the knee, like caving forward, so I'm just what I call like knocking on the door of resistance. Knocking in there and then just coming back. So you can do that on both sides. That is kind of the basic standard way. The other way we can do it is just going back to our post, and I can use the post for leverage So I can get my 5 inches away from that post, and I can pull in and pulse and come back. I should line my body up a little bit, but I'm trying to talk to you guys. So I'm gonna pull in and back off. If you wanna bring it out a little bit more and see if you can go 6 or 7 inches, that's fine too. So you can do it with the added pull of the bar, and then you can do it without the bar. So I should slow down so I don't wobble as much. Little tap and come in, tap and come in. So these ankle glides are great just to build up that mobility. Don't do a lot of them because you can put some strain on your knee, but always be aware of how the next joint feels. Because like we talked about in the beginning, if the ankle is not optimal, or if you're doing too much of it, the next joint is going to feel that stress. So try to keep it mellow so you don't actually cause some stress within the knee. Ones that I do a lot, if I'm going out on the town and let's say I'm in the bank and I'm just doing glides standing up. So I can just stand on one leg, and I try not to look too silly to draw too much attention, but I'm just doing my own glides and see if I can keep my balance, do a little bit of pause, come back. So these are kind of fun to do, and it's a good way to check your balance and see how you're doing. My right one, which I just showed you right there, is generally not as good, so I use that to compare to my left. So if I can get my right one feeling pretty close to my left, I'm doing pretty good that day, and I want to try to maintain that as much as I can. I do those fairly frequently. Lastly, we can do elevated toes. So I'm going to dorsiflex or pull my toes up, and then I'm going to pulse forward. Now you're not going to get as far, and you're probably not going to touch that post, but you're adding that stretch of that calf or Achilles. These are a little bit more aggressive. They're stable, but more aggressive, and I'm just going to pulse in, and it's just changing that angle slightly, getting a different calf muscle and putting that Achilles on stretch. So this one's not as good, so I should probably do more of these just for my own benefit, and I feel a pretty big stretch. So I'm going to add more of those during the week. So lastly, we're going to add some strength into the mix. So we did our foam rolling or a myofascial release, we did our mobility, and then now we're going to do some strengthening. So band is a great way to strengthen the muscles. I'm going to loop it around one foot, get a little bit of tension. I'm going to pull, and then I'm just going to press forward like a gas pedal, and then pull back. Got a pretty heavy foot here I'm pushing through. I don't drive that fast, but not anymore. So I'm pulling and then pressing through. So this is going to work the strength throughout the range of motion. So remember, we always want to mobilize and then build strength throughout that range of motion, because when we run or jump or play basketball, that is going to increase the amount of force as we do those things. So we want to be able to handle that. Other one you can do is ankle glides. So we're going to go back to those ankle glides that we did, but we're going to have a little bit of traction or tension here. So I'm going to get a little bit of tension, and now I'm going to pulse forward. I can have both feet down, or I can try with one. It's going to take me a second to get my balance, but that traction is separating that ankle at the bottom and pulling it a little bit, and it's also causing some resistance that I got to push through to further increase the strength as I go forward. And then lastly, calf raises. A lot of people think they're glamour exercises, but I think they're great for strengthening the Achilles. They feel good, you get a great stretch, and really strengthens up and mobilize that ankle. I have a lot of people do two-legged to start, especially a lot of athletes that are jumping athletes or stop and go type athletes. We do a lot of these in their program. So 2 foot is a good way to go to start. You can also do one leg, and you always want to try to keep, this is my foot, you want to try to keep that big toe down, you don't want to roll out. And then lastly, you can try to do it standing on your own. So if I use the post, I can get a little support. If I try on my own, I'm going to try to balance up at the top and then come down. Now you don't get that stretch of that dorsiflexion, but you get the strength of the ankle control going up and then controlling down. So I hope you find this information useful. If you like the video, please like it down below. Also consider subscribing as we put a new video out every week along with a podcast or something like that. Check out riseabovestrength.com. Sign up for the newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter, so I won't be hammering you with email newsletters. It's just information to help you guys out. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.